Hello parents and students, welcome to Careers 360. A lot of you would want to get into IIMs, and in India, if you look at the B school landscape, there are very few good public institutions out there. A lot of good private players have come in over the last 2-3 decades, but in public space there are very few of them, and of that IIMs obviously take the top notch. But in the last decade, the IITs have come up with some very good B schools within the IITs, and they're doing extremely well in terms of every single student outcome that you would want to have. And more importantly, they actually are dealing with technology and management, and they're dealing with the intersection of that. So the multidisciplinary learning that you have in IITs for students who are wanting to pursue MBA in IITs is second to none. What we're going to discuss today is one of those institutions, which is the Department of Management Studies at IIT Madras. And you will actually see us doing many such series of the Department of Management Studies across the IITs, and exactly telling you what it means for you to be even looking at that as a great option, because these institutions are doing extremely well in terms of placements, in terms of learning, in terms of teaching, and in terms of student outcomes completely. Let me explain to you the first one that we're covering right now, which is the Department of Management Studies at IIT Madras. Now let me explain to you how it all works out. In all, in India, we have 21 IIMs. We're talking of the 21 IIMs here. And I've searched for only IIMs here, if you notice this. I've searched for IIMs out here. And in all, we have about 21 IIMs, and all of them seem to be in the top 100 institutions of the country. We're talking of 22 here because even the IITM in Gwalior also has come up here. But otherwise, all the IIMs, all the 21 IIMs in the country are in the top 100 B schools in the country, but all of them are in the public space. They're in a sense autonomous. The fee that they charge is much more than private, if I may say so. But they are out there. And the ranking that you have obviously is the 1, 2, 3 are occupied by Ahmedabad, Bangalore and Kozhikode. Now you'll be wondering who's the fourth one. The fourth one is an MBA offered at IIT Delhi, and which is what I'm coming to, that these IITs, the B schools that are situated in domiciled in the IITs are doing extremely well. That one of them, which is the MBA offered at IIT Delhi, is now the fourth best, which I'll show you as we move along. Then you have 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 and 10 again are possibly at IITs. Let's look at that also. So to begin with, you have all the 21 IIMs in the top 100 institutions. There are 7 IITs that offer an MBA, and all the 7 of them are also in the top 100 of the NIRF ranking. Let me show that to you. Now here I search for in Institute of Technology, if you notice this. So the 4th rank is IIT Delhi, the 10th rank is IIT Bombay, and we're talking of MBA, mind you. The 16th rank again is in IIT Madras, and IIT Roorkee is 18th, 19th is Kharagpur, 29th is Kanpur, and so on and so forth. What I'm trying to say is that many of the IIMs even lag behind some of these B schools that are offered stationed in or domiciled in IITs, and that seems to be working out very well. Like the Sailesh J. Mehta School of Management in Bombay or Vinod J. Gupta School of Management in Kharagpur, they're extremely good, and most of these IITs actually offer MBAs in the intersection of technology and management. That's because principally a technology institution, and they're trying to create multidisciplinary courses which ensure that greater entrepreneurship, greater strategy, greater operations, greater technology are all learned by the student. And which is where the kind of placement that these institutions also are getting is very high. Let me take you through the data at this point in time. So here we have all the 7 IITs, all of them are in the top 100. All the 21 IIMs are in the top 100. So in a sense, they're competing with each other. If you remove the top 3 IIMs or top 4 IIMs, then you take all the other IIMs and you take all the MBA offered in IIT, they're equal, or if not in some of these points, they might be actually better than what you have at IIMs. Now coming back to IIT Madras. In IIT Madras, I told you that most of these MBAs in IITs are very young. They've been there over the last decade and a half, and they've really risen out of something from the IITs and really have grown over the years. The last decade, their journey seems to be much faster and better. This IIT Madras MBA time, which is called DOMS, Department of Management Studies at IIT Madras, was started in 2004. The institution, of course, it's a department. The MBA is a department in the entire IIT segment. The ranking of this institution is 16th best. So we're talking about the 16th best B school in the country based on NIRF ranking, which is the Government of India ranking, right? We also rank them, and we rank them at 22 best in public. The total students that they have is 152. Of which outside the state there are about 91, and the total faculty is 26. So you can ignore that. But the total intake is about 120 to 152, whatever we have it, right? Now this is a data that I would want you to closely look at. If you notice very closely, In the PG, you actually have 96 students which is the intake. In 21-22, it is 146. So it's actually come down in a certain sense. Now, the total students at IIT Madras who are pursuing PG is 152, of which 104 are boys and 48 are girls. So we actually have a 30 to 70 kind of a ratio that you're dealing with here, which is a very good ratio because in MBA 30% is decent. Right. Now, if you further go down and look at the kind of placement that they have, in the 22-23, they actually had 67 students who graduated. 67 who graduated. And all the 67 were placed at an average salary of 20.56 lakh rupees. The median salary is 20.56 lakh. So it's got a 100% placement strike rate and a median salary is 20.5 lakh. So that is the kind of institution that we're talking of, where the placement is 100% and at a 20 lakh rupees median salary. Now, if you look at this over the last 3 years also, now the placement seems to be maintaining its pace and actually growing dramatically. What was about 13 lakh rupees in 2021, right, and a 100% placement rate has now grown to 100% placement, but at 20.45 lakh rupees. So obviously the trajectory that you see is about 50% kind of a growth in the kind of median salary, which means better companies are coming, better students are also preferring that. So the quality of students has gone up, and because the quality of students has gone up, you also have the quality of companies that are coming in who wanting to pay more to get the student in also has gone up, and all of them seem to be growing in sync with each other. The quality of student, the quality of companies, and the quality of learning that happens because of the peer group that you have. So here, if you see in 22-23, 67 students were admitted, 67 graduated, 67 were placed, 100% placement at 20.45 lakh rupees. Now, what is the highest CTC that you have? The highest CTC in 2023 was about 30 lakh rupees, right? The kind of roles that these students have, the kind of companies and the roles that they have, if you look at it, again, it's very, very widespread as compared to a typical IIM, right? You have in analytics, you have about 31% students who went in finance 28%, general management 20%, sales and marketing 12%, 9% in operations. So now this again is a very good spread in terms of the kind of roles that the students are getting in companies that they're joining in, which again signifies that the kind of companies that are coming in are very good and they are very, very widespread, and the roles are also very widespread. Now, what are the kind of companies that come for placement? Now, this we're taking from the company brochure, by the way, the institution brochure. Companies like Morgan Stanley, Accenture, ICICI Bank, VIP, Deloitte, McKinsey, Honda, Dell. So you have all kinds of companies from manufacturing to sales to servicing to merchant bankers to investment bankers to banks to very, very good companies and to great technology companies and consulting companies. So you actually have all kinds of companies coming in. But more importantly, for us now, it's not about depending only on what the institution says in its information brochure, because that's a marketing brochure. We actually had to corroborate that with what is happening in terms of how the students who studied at Department of Management Studies at IIT Madras are doing in the real world. So for that, we look back at the kind of students that were there on LinkedIn and try to survey them to understand where they're working, what they're doing, and how they're doing. And when we looked at that, in LinkedIn, we found about 677 alumni, right, who are on LinkedIn, who studied at Department of Management Studies at IIT Madras. When we looked at that data, we realized that of the total 679, 59 at some point in time worked at ICICI Bank, which means ICICI Bank possibly was going for recruitment placement there. 42 worked at Infosys, 39 worked at McKinsey, 34 at Accenture, Tiger Analytics 18. So very clearly these companies are going there for placement because of so many students at some point in time worked there. And even now as I speak, about 25 are working in ICICI, 7 are working in Infosys, 17 are working in McKinsey, Accenture 9 and Tiger Analytics 9. And it is not just that, we also wanted to go to the next level of where they're working. So when we looked at that, again in Deloitte about 17 were working, Dell 16 were working, Cisco 15 were working, Amazon 12. And remember the intake here was 60 at that point in time. So the total alumni that you have 679 is because initially DOMS started with only 60 kind of an intake, and now it has grown to about 120, 150. Right, and currently employed, so many are employed. So very clearly all these companies were going there for placement, and you actually corroborate that with the kind of data or companies that the institution claimed were coming for placement. You actually can corroborate this whole thing. Now, the other thing that we also wanted to look at is how are these students doing in real world? Where are they placed? Which cities are they working in? Because ideally, over a period of time, many of these people would spread their wings and go beyond Chennai, beyond India, and then work all over the world. When we looked at that, again, we realized that about 8.5% of these students are outside of India, which is very good. Right. Remember, it's a very young institution, only 679 alumni. So you actually can see or foresee that in the next 10 years, this would jump to about 15-17%. Because these guys will keep working hard, growing up the ladder in the companies that they're working in, and take up global positions also. And this seems to be a very good number. Besides that, if you look at it, in Chennai, about 30% students are working. In Bangalore, about 12% students are working. In Delhi, about 10% students are working. In Mumbai, 5% students are working. In Hyderabad, about 5% students are working. So very clearly, what you see is that the students who studied at DOMS Chennai at IIT Madras seem to be really working well and have spread all over the country and also beyond the country, all over the globe also. So with all these things, why do I recommend? It's simply because, this, first of all, it's a public institution. It's a part of IIT Madras. The fee would be slightly moderated here as compared to even IIMs. In fact, the more I know about them, I feel very good about it, because the MBA at IITs charge almost half of what an IIM charges in terms of the fee structure. The placement is almost similar if you remove the top 4 MBA institutions in the country, which is IIM, ABC and Lucknow possibly. But the median salary seems to be similar to what the other IIMs have. For definitely they beat the baby IIMs, and they are far better than many of the other IIMs also, but for the top 4 IIMs. 3, the students are performing very well in their roles. They're getting all kinds of roles in every kind of a company that any IIMs would otherwise be getting. 4, because it's in the intersection of technology and management, the world is moving in that direction. An MBA institution which is stationed in one of the IITs will have greater multidisciplinary learning. And that will help you, because the kind of courses that they have, the kind of specialization that they have on strategy, on operations, on finance, entrepreneurship, on technology, these would work far better in many of the MBAs within the IITs than possibly some of the IIMs in the second half of the IIMs, if I may say so. With those kind of profile, with the kind of student that they have, with the fact that they're very young and yearning to grow, hungry to grow, and hungry to prove a point, I personally think that if you're not getting into the top 5-7 IIMs, the MBA that is offered at any of these IITs, MBA offered at the IITs, seems to be a very good option. It must be a part of your consideration set, and I would urge you to look at that very closely before jumping on to anything else. I hope this works for you. If you want any more videos from us, please write a comment here and I'll start working on that. If you have any questions, please write to us and I'll be more than happy to deal with that. The idea here is to ensure that you take the right decision so that we actually grow, because you actually have taken the right decision. Thank you so much. Namaskar.